All right, everybody, we are live. Today is June 26th, Thursday, and we're doing something a little bit different. We have the first of what we believe is going to be many. There it is. I just told them to mute. Rando Roundtable. I think that's what we're going to call it from now on. We're going to have different searchers on. They're only random until we meet them, and then they become our friends. So welcome, you guys and girls, for coming on the show. And we're going to talk about Justin's crazy answers to some of these crazy questions. And yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of fun. What do you think, K-Pro? Oh, okay, Sidekick K-Pro. All right, we all got nicknames now. Okay.
Well, you did it. It happened. No, okay, so some of you are saying you already got knocked out. Had something happen this morning. I wasn't able to get down there. By the time the day freed up, it was so close to this time. I had to be here with you and you in the back over there. I needed to be here. So I decided not to play the ladies tournament. I'll still be playing sometime in the next couple of weeks, just not today. So those of you that have not been around in a hot minute, we haven't done one of these in a couple of years, I don't think. We get something new. We used to do this for the Forest Fen Hunt. What is your home of brown? And we would bring, gosh, I think a couple of our panels had 20, 30 people in it. We like to make sure we don't have over 6 or so because we talk over each other. So some people are asking, what were the criteria of who you brought on? First 4 emails. I got like 30. So the first 4 emails. So, and we did have somebody not show. So we're at 5 because we have one with 2. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'm K-Pro, the sidekick. I've been around for 9 years now in treasure hunting. Met my lovely husband in Forest Fence Den, and the rest is history. There's my introduction.
All right, Ja Will, you want to go next?
Yeah, my name is Jamie. Screen name is Ja Will. I go by that on Reddit. I'm a teacher in Ohio. Kind of watched the Fen Hunt from a distance. Got in on the ground floor of the Posey Hunt, and I've been loving every minute.
All right, welcome. Enjoy every mile.
Oh, yes.
My name is Ginger, and I live in Denver, outside of Denver, Colorado. And I knew nothing about the Fen Hunt until I saw Golden Greed on TV. And what actually sparked my interest in this was Justin's reference to Tucson and the 49er Country Club where I used to live. And so I got hooked in and needed some adventure in my life, and down the rabbit hole I went.
Nice. You took the ticket to ride.
I took the ticket to ride.
And treasure pack.
All right, I'm Suzanne. We live in California. I spend a great deal of my time in Great Falls, Montana, where my granddaughter is. And so we had met this couple there that we became friends with, and they were kind of always talking about treasure hunting and all this and that. And so when another hunt came up, we got very involved, and we came together and came up with the solve. Jim and I went boots in the ground in February. And, you know, of course, it was snowy, but we really enjoyed it. So we haven't been in the game too long. I'm retired and he's retired.
Yeah, new to the treasure hunting community, new to treasure hunting. It's a lot of fun working on the puzzles. And I was a software developer for about 40 years. I started off at Apple. So I have some insight to the technical stuff that, that Justin alludes to, but I haven't found the technical clue yet. Unless I did, he said someone did, but no, I haven't found it yet. We're new to it, so I dive into past treasure hunts to kind of learn how they're done and try to apply it to this. But this has been a lot of fun.
Your name.
That's what it's all about. Having fun. So I guess we'll just jump right into it, K-Pro. What I'm going to do, everybody at home, just so you know, is we're not going to show the video, but I'm going to play it so we can hear the audio. And that way we can hear Cynthia asking the question and actually hear Justin's answer. Hopefully it's clear. I know on our video, some people said they couldn't hear it too well. I can actually repeat the answer if needed, and then we'll just go around and we'll discuss.
Well, a little bit different, though. So, okay. And I'm going to have to turn this off as you're doing that. The sun is hitting me. But once we hear it, kind of our overall thoughts, but I'll have some specific questions that I've kind of teed up, and then anything else type of thing. So That's how we'll continue to roll. We'll hopefully get to 10, but we'll see how that goes. I'm going to go shut a blind because I am blinded by the light.
So I will go ahead and play the first question. And I mean, the first question, he just hit the ball right out of the park in the first question. So here we go.
Forrest Fenn's first clue is WWH. Can you tell us what is your first clue in your poem?
Yes. Yes. Well, I want to make sure I get it right, so I don't look at my own poem to make sure. Can I take the credit? Is there somebody has a book?
That was funny to me that he's like, I need to look at the poem. I mean, don't you think he has it memorized by now? Or and I'm going to fast forward to where
you have 500 people sitting in a room. You don't want to say something wrong. When he hesitates or breathes, we read into it. So I just think you want to be prepared.
Okay, let me play his answer. He got the book. He's looking at the poem in the book.
I want to make sure I answer this correctly. I think the most actionable first clue in the poem that gives you sufficient context would be as hope surges, there and great.
Wow.
Okay, that was a pretty awesome answer. Where do you want to start, Kate Pro?
I would like to start with, he didn't just say the first clue. He said the first actionable clue with sufficient context. What do you think? Why do you think I think he qualified that. Does that mean nothing to you? Or is it something, how do you define those? Why did he qualify it? I mean, I have a million questions, but I'll just keep it broad. Actionable clue that's sufficient context. Are there others in the first stanza that are not actionable, but they're still there? That's my general thoughts. So, Jay Will, do you want to start? Do you have any thoughts on either of those things?
Yeah. So in looking at the poem structure, I've always felt the two M dashes are kind of the bumpers between the beginning of the instructions and the end of the instructions. Okay. So after that M dash, that hope surges line comes into play. I think that's conditional. I think you're not supposed to go boots on the ground until your hope is surging that you have solved an answer. And I also think that ties into his later answer when someone asked him how far the distance is from the first clue to the last clue. And he said he couldn't answer because it would depend and vary. I think it depends where we're starting our hunt from. If I'm starting from Ohio, my distance is going to be much greater than other people's.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Suzanne and Jim, right?
Yes.
Okay. Suzanne and Jim?
Yeah, I just felt like the first stanza is kind of a setup to get you in the mood of what's to come. And as hope surges is going to be my first dot on the map. So that's what I've been focusing on this week, is trying to find hope on a map, clear and bright. And Jim has his thought.
Yeah, so hope is not capitalized. So I didn't think it was part of the name of whatever, but it does feel like actionable to me means a spot on a map or some kind of thing to get you in a general area. So that's kind of how I took it. And the surges is weird because how many things surge? Not many things surge. And then clear and bright to me is kind of like the only thing I think of is lights. So some kind of light or, like a lighthouse or, something clear and bright is specific. And then something surging is specific. So it's a very full first sentence. Yeah, it has a lot of things to it.
Okay. Over to you, Ginger.
Well, I think after reading Justin's book and listening to him on Netflix, one of the biggest downfalls that he felt about Forrest Fenn's treasure hunt was that it was too general of a starting point of where waters halt. And I think if you read it literally right now, it is still general, because my husband and I joke now, like we go past a hole and like, oh, we've gone past the hole and we're around the bend and it's surging, right? So we can apply this, and we all have applied this to different areas throughout the Western US. So I think that the first stanza has something to direct us to narrow it down and find the place. So when that hope is surging, we already know where we're going. We know, and like you said, we could be in Ohio and know that. We could be in Colorado and know that. So it's narrowing it down to that place. I have not found out what that is yet, but I do think that wisdom lives in shadowed sight for those who read these words just right. I think it is how we're reading the words, whether it's realigning how the stanzas are read, but I do think that we're going through the poem first and then coming back to that as hope surges.
So let me flip what you're saying a little bit to see if it's how I processed it, but I don't know if it's what you're saying. Does the first stanza kind of give the context then of kind of how you're going to do this? And then you start, it's almost your like directions before you take the test.
Yes.
The test starts on stanza 2, but 1 gives you enough context to now you know what you're going to be doing in stanza 2.
Yeah, you really have to put some thought into that first stanza and figure that out. That's the riddle right there. What lives in time, shadowed sight. There's something about the words. People have talked about anagrams. They've talked about reversing the stanzas, reading bottom up. So yeah, there's something there because, like I said, in Justin's book, he specifically talks about the oil change, right? And with the passenger his friend jumping out of the back. And he says, if you want something done, you do it yourself. If you want something done right, you do it yourself. And I think that he found a lot of ways that he could have done Fenn's treasure hunt better. And I think he's doing them here.
Okay.
I hope so. Let me go real quick, Kpro. So for me, first, I want to acknowledge what Justin did, and that is he put the first clue at the beginning of the second stanza, just like Forrest Fenn did. Begin it where warm waters halt was it the first clue in the second stanza. So I recognize that nod to Forrest Fenn's poem. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I kind of had an idea of that before he said it, but I never actually said it out loud. And yeah, I agree with Ginger, was it, right? I think the as hope surges clear and bright, that is what lives in time. I think he's defining or helping us define what we're looking for in the first stanza, what the first stanza is describing. I don't have an answer yet. I've just got some ideas. But instead of like as hope surges clear and bright, meaning us having a bright idea of, oh, I know where to go. I wonder if it's more literal. I wonder if he's saying what lives in time. Somehow that first line of the second stanza is what lives in time. I don't know how yet, but hopefully it ties in. What do you think, Kpro?
I believe going to the points, and I think it was J. Will that said it. I think the reason that I think these points are starting, I think we're going to have 10 points at the end, let's say, or 6. I'm between those two because 6 comes up so often. I think he is saying your first point on a map is going to be the second stanza, and exactly what Ginger was saying, the rest is context. I personally believe, and I know we'll get there, when he said he can't give the first, like, how many miles from the first clue to the last clue, and he said he can't say if you knew what I knew. I think that's because we're making a symbol. We're either making, I'll say an X, like clue 1's here, clue 2's here, clue 3's here, clue 4's here. It's an X, and everybody's going to travel in differently. And so I personally think it might be the Axar. It might be some of these symbols that he's giving us, but that's kind of how I'm envisioning it. And that as hope surges clear and bright, that's the first point that we're putting on a map.
Okay. We're ready to go to question 2?
We are. And this one is talk about a compound answer.
There we go.
Has anyone reached the checkpoint?
I like the way he blushes.
You know, I guess for context, we could show the video too. It's not going to hurt anything for me to do this real quick. Here we go.
Spying time.
He's thinking about it. Maybe he didn't have an answer prepared already.
To my uncertain knowledge, no.
Bam.
I'll also say that, as far as I know, surprisingly, actually, I have not heard anyone mention the correct answer to the cipher yet. And I think I mentioned there is one other arguably technical thing that is involved in solving this. It's not like a core part of the poem, but it's something that I think people would find interesting. And only one person in the world has solved it so far. And they've been very quiet about it. I don't think I've seen it. Actually, no, I did see it one time on one social media venue, which was actually kind of funny because everyone blew right past it and didn't get out of time to pay. And no one noticed that he had figured it out. So that was pretty interesting.
All right. There was his answer. He packed a lot into that answer.
Holy hell, yeah, that was a multi-part answer. So let's take this one in parts. So he's saying that to his uncertain knowledge, no one has reached the checkpoint. So he kind of had the canary in his mouth the last time when Mike and I were interviewing him, and we said, when you reach the checkpoint, they're going to know, and that means they're trending in the right direction. But are you going to know? And he smiled and said, no comment, kind of alluding that he has a way. So first question is, what do you think about the checkpoint? And number two, do you believe he has a way of knowing? Because he's kind of alluding here the opposite of what he did in our interview. So let's go backwards this time. Ginger, we'll start with you, and then we'll circle back to Jaywell.
I don't have an idea for the checkpoint. I have thought about this, and I think that he knows the checkpoint, and I think he knows when someone will get to the checkpoint, whether that's, say, a QR code, whether that is something like when he did in the book, right? You had to email him to get the prize. So he's a smart guy with a lot of technology background. There are ways that you can know if you've reached the checkpoint. So I absolutely think that he is going to know when somebody gets to the checkpoint. I do not know what the checkpoint is. I do think that you need to be boots on the ground for the checkpoint. I've second guessed myself on that a couple times because it could be, like I said, a IP address. It could be a Google coordinate. It could be something digital that you could find there that when you ping it, he would know. But I'm going back to, I think, boots on the ground for the checkpoint.
Yeah, after that, and that's a good point. That audiobook made it clear to me that your boots have to be on the ground for that part. To me, I know some people say, nope, that's just red herrings or whatever. He said no to red herrings. Okay, Treasure Pack, you're up.
I'm stuck on the checkpoint too. There's so much controversy over, what it is. Is it boots on the ground? Is it in the poem? Is it a trail cam? What is it? I'm leaning slightly to the side of it's in the poem. And I'm not quite sure. I think it's before boots on the ground. So I'm not quite sure how that fits with how he'll know. But that's the way I'm leaning slightly.
Okay.
Jen?
So the fact that he said my uncertain knowledge makes me think that he won't know when someone has actually reached it because he won't be certain. But I don't know. I read things literally a lot. He also, he packs a lot into this answer. And
Yes.
Why does he say the cipher and the tech clue when he's answering about the checkpoint? Are they all related somehow? That's curious. And then
We're just doing checkpoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I like that.
I'm clueless on the checkpoint because I immediately thought at first when you return her face to find the place, that's the checkpoint. But everybody did. So there's no certainty with me on that either. So
I will say before the Q&A, I thought that the cipher was in the poem. And he said that the cipher is not in the poem. So that changed things for me.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, Jaywell, you're our only hope. Tell us what the checkpoint is.
My gut says the checkpoint is double arcs on Granite Bold. That fits with his answer later, where he said the checkpoint is more than halfway through the poem.
Okay.
Because numerically it's that far. He also says later on in the Q&A, when Cynthia ad-libbed the question about the blaze, He said, I chose natural objects, stuff that would stand the test of time, but I will know if it is damaged. How would he know if it's damaged unless he doesn't have a trail cam or something on that? So he definitely will know when someone gets to the checkpoint.
He said he would know if the checkpoint was damaged?
Yes, when Cynthia asked him an ad lib question about is the checkpoint your blaze or something to that effect, he explained about natural things.
Oh, okay. That to me, I hadn't made those connections, so that helped me right there. I'm gonna be listening to that part later tonight for sure.
Well, I'll
okay,
just get
Mike, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll just get my 2 cents real quick. For me, being in the military, a checkpoint is when you stop at a guard gate, and it's got the arm down. You give your ID to the guy, it raises it up, and it lets you in. That's a checkpoint. You check in with somebody. Now, obviously, there's not a guard gate out on boots on the ground, but I do think it is a certain way that we are checking in with Justin to tell him, hey, we're here. I think he will know when somebody reaches the checkpoint. I don't know what it is. I don't know how he set it up. But if it's something where we have to contact him, maybe it is as simple as an email. Maybe it is as simple as, I don't know, a website you go to, something that confirms you're trending in the right direction, as he said, but also so that he would know that you're there as well.
Well, and this could be jumping ahead, but he also mentioned that you have ample time. You are not searching at that point. You are retrieving. Right. And so you have ample time. So is it a checkpoint that only one person will find? If all of us are out in the right place at the right time, could I find the checkpoint and then K-Pro find the checkpoint? That was kind of confusing.
We got a super chat from Emma from Treasure Hunt with us, 499. She says, I agree with Mike, of course. About the checkpoint.
He's just mad because I agree with Jam about the container.
There you go. Thank you, Emma. We appreciate it. Yeah, what do you think, K-Pro?
Yeah, well, I don't know what the checkpoint is. I believe it's boots on the ground. I believe it. Exactly. I think it was Ginger that just brought it up. When he says, you don't need to worry about packing out 60 pounds and having to worry about it time sensitive. You're going to have plenty of time and don't worry. That makes me believe there's something like the checkpoint gives you and only you it's basically over by then. I don't know if it's a checkpoint or later on, etc. But if you haven't retrieved it, and basically he's saying the race is over, you have plenty of time. I know that's the other question, but that was so spicy. So I'm just going to punt this to say the only thing I know is there is a checkpoint, and I think it's boots on the ground. Other than that, and I do think he has a way of knowing because he kind of alluded to it that way, but that will lead in nicely to the next one because the first part was the checkpoint to his uncertain knowledge. But this one, he says, related to the technical clue, there is only one person in the world so far that has solved this tech thing, this tech clue, and it's not core. And he's posted it on social media and everyone blew right past him. So a couple of questions. One, do you have any ideas of what you think that where the tech clue exists? There has to be something that's confirmed. There's only one person. I'll give you my example. I think it's something on the website. And once you access I think it's an extension to his website page. And so he will know when someone hits it. But what social media? I have a lot of strong opinions on that. And have you guys gone back to look for it? Do you have any ideas? Did the guy delete it? What's happening?
How many have looked for it?
You have looked for it? Yeah, I've gone back a little bit. But yeah. Yeah, let's start with Treasure Pack this time.
Jim.
Oh, right when Jim walked away. Sorry about that.
So
any of those. So regarding the tech clue, how does he know? Absolute. Did you guys pick up on in the same way that I did? Only one person in the world knows. So he seems a lot more. He will know when someone has the tech clue. What do you think about the social media? What do you think about any of that?
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question first because I wrote this in my pen. Did he say the tech clue was in the poem? Can anybody confirm or?
He said it's not part of the poem. His exact words were, it is not a core part of the poem.
A core part.
Yeah.
But we know the cipher's not in the poem, I believe he said. But he said the tech clue is not a core part of the poem. To me, that means it's in the poem. It's just not very important.
Well, I thought he said the cipher is part of the poem. Do I have it wrong or do I have it backwards? I thought he said the cipher was part of the poem because that's a stage. And the
What do you
tech
think,
clue is not
Jamie?
part of the poem.
Where's the cipher?
The cipher is not in the poem. He said that
Right.
clearly. So it's
Right.
in the book.
Okay.
Right.
Book, audiobook, somewhere in there.
So Jim did come up with a part of, a technical type clue on Discord. We talked about it, but everybody was kind of paying attention. Oh, this might be interesting. And, let's look at this.
So I noticed that the poem itself has a lot of SQL code statements in it. So I was looking at those because the words "not in" is part of an SQL statement. It means exclude this list of letters or list of words.
So programming language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's the database query language, SQL. But that has been discussed, and that must not be it. So, first thing I started doing, of course, was looking at the source code of the web page itself. You can do that. Anybody can do that. And didn't find anything, but I did find the SHA-256 string, but still that didn't do anything. I really kind of still leaning toward, if you type treasurequest./en/some word, it's going to take you somewhere.
Like Kate Pro suggested. Yeah. We've been looking at that.
So it's, what is the word, right? Is it Tucker? Is it,
I've tried 100 things.
Yeah, we tried.
Yeah. So that to me seems like the technical clue. I wanted to go back through all the Discords and whatever and look for someone who referenced some technical thing.
So my notes about the cipher say it's not in the poem and it's the container. So that means to me it must be in the book. But I think some people might have come up with, well, maybe it's in somewhere else. But I've been looking in the book for the cipher for the container. I came up with something, but it's really weird. So I don't. I'll keep looking.
He tends to say it's filled to the gills, so we always think it's like a fish or
right,
some kind of thing with gills, right? And she actually found something with gills and found something that
it's weird.
It's a bit weird. We're trying to get some confirmation from someone else.
I mean, if it's a brown trout, we all would recognize that from the forest. Just as a fly fisherman.
That's what gets me, though. He doesn't want people to build decoys. So if it was Tucker or a trout, there'd have been 100 decoys built by now.
Right.
So I'm looking for something other than Tucker or a trout myself.
Okay.
Yeah, first time I heard filled to the gills, I thought it was the giant fish that he caught, and
yeah, and they asked him about that in the Q&A. How much did it weigh? That's right.
Yeah. So
okay. What do you think, Ginger?
I'm sorry. What is the question again?
The next part of the answer, which was the tech thing. He says only one person in the world. They posted on social media. We blew right by it. Do you have any thoughts on the tech clue?
I've searched for it. I watched this back in March, and so I've been following. I was an earlier subscriber to the Discord, an early subscriber to the Facebook. So I've been, lurking in the shadows for a long time. And I went back and I couldn't find anything that stuck out to me. I'm more focused right now on the poem and the map, because I think those are the two things that you need to solve this. I think the book, as he said, is a great insight into him as a person and why he does things, and has some clues in there. But it's also very hard to get away from confirmation bias when you read the book, because you read the book, you're like, this matches exactly. We were in Yellowstone this past week, and I mean, I had several solves that matched exactly, and you're like, this has to be it, and it's not, and you have to get away from that confirmation bias. So so I do think I have not put much time. I thought the cipher was in the poem, so I was working the poem for a cipher, didn't get anywhere, and I haven't worked past a cipher for the book, other than all the alliteration that's in there that has to mean something.
Okay,
so for me on the tech clue, when he said only one person in the whole world, to me, world, I thought World Wide Web, which means it is in fact on the website somewhere, and that's breaking news if it's correct. I guess
if it's correct. It's correct.
There's a hint, a subtle hint to the World Wide Web.
Okay. Jay Will, what do you think?
So I've had an idea on the technical clue for a while. And it was one of those things I had not seen people post it, and then I've seen people allude to it. So I'm not sure, has Justin seen everybody's post on every technical clue? Maybe. But double arcs on granite bold, I think there's a railroad involved, and I think the double arcs is a train rail.
I agree.
And the technical clue or the aspect that I felt was her foot of 3. So railroads are measured in widths, and a narrow gauge rail is a 3-foot rail. And there's also a section of railroad that is cut and up behind him on his mantle in one of his interviews. And the train lock. I think a train for sure is somewhere within there. So I'm assuming something technical is related to that.
Can trains be married? Is there a bride and groom train out there somewhere in the past? That would be interesting to find.
Well, and so the only thing I'll comment to this part is there's only 2 places that I believe social media just barrels by and somebody can get scrolled past. I wouldn't say that with forums. I would not say that with Facebook. I wouldn't say that with Twitter. I think it's either a Discord chat that we're having as the chat room goes, or this chat room in here. and Jam hadn't gotten approved to live before that, so their chat rooms now. So I think it's one of our old chats in YouTube Live, or it is my most likely candidate. It's in our Discord one of the nights that things were just popping and you have to scroll back, and he said everybody blew right by it. I sometimes wake up in the morning and look and it says 2,000 new messages today, or like new posts. Go ahead, Jay.
Are those chats searchable? Can you download a transcript of the chats and then potentially run it through a search to search technical clue? I
know it's searchable. I don't know if you could download.
It's searchable on Discord, and I don't know how far back it goes. I think it goes back pretty far, though. So if you put a username or a keyword, it will show you everything that it contains that.
Okay, I think anything else on this one? Because he talked about the checkpoint, the cipher, the technical clue. I mean, he just chock full. We asked him one question and he answered 3. And I mean, I love that he did all of them, but it was like, damn. Yeah.
All right, ready for the next one?
Yes.
And this is a short one. Here we go.
Okay, next. Are you at least halfway through the poem clues when you reach the checkpoint?
Okay, when I do it, you hurry.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, that's fair to say.
Are you at least halfway through the poem clues when you reach the checkpoint? Did you say reach the checkpoint? And he says, yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think reach. Yeah.
Yeah, when you reach the checkpoint. Does that mean boots on the ground when you reach the checkpoint? Are you
well, because of the audiobook, I'm going to say yes. But audiobook says one rule and it's etched in stone. Wheel, I don't have it memorized. Basically, you got to get your foot on the ground. The wheel is not for the checkpoint.
And if the checkpoint is that close to the treasure, meaning he said whoever finds the checkpoint has got a really great chance of finding it, it would be toward the end of the poem. It would be toward the end of the journey, I'm assuming.
So if you guys were to guess, we already know Jay Will's answer of he thinks the checkpoint's at double arcs on granite bold. If you were to say, here's the line that I think the checkpoint's at, do you have an idea? I don't have an idea yet, but do you guys have an idea?
You do.
I
look at the poem.
And I kind of have a little bit of a guess that I'll throw at you guys after.
I've always thought it was return our face to find the place.
Yep.
But
it kind of makes sense. Yeah.
One time I was thinking double arcs on grandpa. Isn't that the grandfather looking through the binoculars? Yeah, that was really right. So, the fact that he didn't have to check the poem again to see where it was.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the gates, because Mike reminded us you checkpoint at a gate. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
The ancient gate.
Yeah. But the gates is less than halfway.
Yeah, it's about halfway.
Yeah, it's about, yeah, it depends on now. Now the
Right.
whole idea of the 10 clues being evenly distributed is gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and you might have to read back into the poem. You know, it might not be a linear read. You might have to read through once and then go through again. You know,
Oh Lord, you might be right.
yeah. So I think the problem was the at least. Like if they said halfway, but the at least gave a lot of wiggle room on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anything, Jay Will? I know you kind of answered it beforehand, the double arcs.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you have, to me, I broke the poem down and really went by sentences. So let me ask you guys this. So for the as hope surges clear and bright, comma, walk near water silent flight, would you take that as one entire sentence or potentially two clues? Because at one point he said some people could bicker whether it's one or a double clue type of thing. You know, so in that sense, you have to kind of like break out how many clues, because he said there was at least 10 in the poem.
Yeah.
Right. It looks like 2 to me. In other words, if as hope surges clear and bright is a location, then we're walking near water's flight. It may be a way to zero in on a bigger location. You want to go down to where the water's flight is. So it could be a double clue. How to figure out the general location, how to go to a specific point within that location.
I lean towards 2 as well. If I don't have all of it yet, but it seems to me exactly what Mike said. You're figuring out what it is on the first line, as hope surges, and the second line, you're walking from it. So one's an action, one's the noun, if you will.
Yeah, he doesn't really differentiate between hints and clues. So the first stanza could actually have hints, clues in it. And so, the first as hope surges isn't really the first clue.
It's just first actionable.
Just
First actionable. Yeah, that could be.
But on his site, he does say everything that is a hint, is a clue, is all part of it. So he does kind of clarify that.
Yes.
I just think that's one of those red herrings, not official red herring, but unintentionals that use the word wisdom and immediately everybody's like Wisdom, Montana. He's used the word hope somewhere. I'm sure there's a town called Hope too. But I just think that you could overread certain things.
See, and I could see the first stanza being wisdom is actually Wisdom, Montana, because you're not taking action yet. It's just giving you that general context. You don't have action yet, but you needed to know where to start. And like wisdom has that whole shadow with how the mountain and all of that. There's a bunch of lore up in wisdom about that. I could see that still fitting what he says, because that's still, it's a general clue, but it's not actionable. You don't have enough context. Oh, you get to wisdom. Now you have some context and you can kind of take it from there. If that's your particular, I know a lot of people in that area, that's how they use it. And have kind of talked through his new bombshell of the first actionable clues in the second stanza. So, yeah. Okay, Mike, number 4.
Number 4. Here we go.
Where's
Are there any clues or hints in the songs in your treasure?
Wait, what was the question again?
Are there any clues or hints in the songs in your treasure hunt?
He's thinking.
Yes.
Wow. And that was the answer, just a yes. Now, for me, I've not looked into the music at all. But when Cynthia says in the treasure hunt, what does that mean to you guys? Does that mean what's in Netflix and what's in the audiobook? There is no music on the website, right? Although he does have a link to Spotify for the music, so I guess that could tie into.
I just have the one song by, I don't know.
yeah.
That one, yeah.
Well, he has one of the songs that's in Netflix actually has more than one version and does have lyrics. My daughter actually found that.
Printed out the lyrics.
Yeah. So, and we didn't even ask that because that would have got too nuanced. He probably wouldn't answer. So the song without the lyrics may be in Netflix, but if you go and find and search down the song, it does have a version with lyrics. Is that fair game? Seems like it should be.
Yeah. And I thought she said songs as in
Songs.
plural. Did
Yes,
you say
because
songs?
What,
There's
two more?
Uncle Hiram, Uncle's song. Yeah.
Uncle Hiram, there's two more in the audiobook.
Yeah, there's 3 songs in the audiobook, and then there's the arcade song that Justin Posey also wrote.
Yeah.
Do the ones in the audio? I have the audiobook, and I don't remember this, but do those have lyrics in them? That's just music.
No, just titles. So the ones in the book are Memories Begin, Martinis at Midnight, and Requiem to Treasure.
Mm-hmm.
I would take Memories as the answer to Can You Find What Lives in Time? I've always thought Memories, so I would count that as a hint. Unfortunately, it's not a great hint.
Now, here's my question. So if he had these questions beforehand, he has actually squared this question. It's one he wanted answered. He must have paused for a good 15 seconds to say the word yes. I found, somebody said in chat, he's just being a showman. Do you think there's something more to it? Was he just being careful? Did he need a moment to take a break for test? Like, why did he wait so long just to say the word yes with no other qualifiers?
Sounded like he needed a drum roll, you know. It's going to be spectacular answer.
I took it as he didn't know if he wanted to give away that clue. Like that's something he had hidden. There's a line in there, captivated by the shadows of light, which sounds like shadowed sight.
On arcade.
And I want to find myself some peace of mind. What do you find? Some peace of mind. You know, so there are a couple of lines that right next to each other in that arcade song that sounded exactly like the poem. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
It says, I want to find myself some peace of mind, captivated by the shadows of light.
Okay.
So I just thought that was oddly coincidental.
Yeah, and I think one of the lyrics is not beyond the map's edge. It's beyond, it has very similar wording as well. Yeah, so that's something wasn't on my list to do, and now it is. Okay, any other comments on this one before we move on to the now 9,000 mile?
I think the lyrics also go along with the book, that there's an emotional component to it. I feel like there's an emotional component in here.
For sure, yeah. I think it means a lot to him, whatever it is, once we figure it out. Okay, next question. Anybody?
I was just going to say there's a lot of emotion around his brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even in Netflix, he breaks down a little bit. You know, so.
Right.
I think if you watch his body language, though, with the questions where he's really thinking about how to phrase it, you can see him like looking and really pondering it. That one, he particularly looked downward. And I think he was more splitting hairs. Is there a clue in there? Technically, yeah. If it is simple as the memories.
Okay.
I haven't written any software yet to analyze his patterns, but
yet is the key word.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Is there a hint in the statement you traveled over 9,000 miles in 2 trips?
Yeah, let me read that. Is there a hint in the statement you traveled over 9,000 miles in 2 trips? And the purpose of the 9-mile or over 9,000 miles statement was to convey that I traveled a great distance throughout the Rockies and the American West as part of hiding the trailer. And there's it's really not meant to read anything more than that. It's basically meant to say that I traveled a great distance and somewhere along my route, I hit the trigger. It could have been at the beginning of the route, in the middle, in the end, somewhere along the path.
That was pretty straightforward, I think, right?
Well, this one's caused one of the biggest controversies I've seen.
Yep.
Why?
Yeah, Mike, come on, Mike. You haven't spent 10 hours. He said Rockies.
Yeah,
and then he said American West, but he did say Rockies first.
Flip up. It's in the Rockies. He just ruled out half the states.
The Rockies is in the American West, so he didn't even need the word the Rockies.
So
it's true.
He also said 9 mile 9,000 mile. And he said Rocky and American West. So those pauses make you think there's meaning there. But
yeah, that's one to re-look at again and again with the close-up. That's why the close-up will be important, because I feel like this one could it just have been a reference to Back with Forrest? I don't think so. I think it was America West. I lean a little he had a slip up. Even though he'll say he didn't, we don't believe you, Justin. It's going to happen.
To answer the question was, is there a hint in that? So what he was saying is it's not meant to, I can't even read my own notes. It wasn't meant to be a hint, to answer the question.
He never said yes.
It was more, no, there's no hint in that statement. We all got caught up on what he said about the Rockies. But
I agree that there's no hint. I mean, I thought if I myself was going to go hide a treasure, I would do the same thing. Like, you drive around all different places, hiding your tracks,
Right.
And I mean, he already did a reconnaissance, so he knew where he wanted to go. So yeah, I didn't find any, when he mentioned that the first time, I didn't put any weight into that it was in Alaska, because he went from Texas to Alaska.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is the big one. This one's going to get interesting.
All right, but I do want to take a timeout just to say subscribe to the channel, everybody. We hit 9,500. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who did hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10,000 by the end of the year. So thank you, everybody. Please subscribe if you can. Next question. And everybody should be able to, because it's free. So there we go. All right, here we go.
For anyone who would struggle with carrying 60 pounds in one trip, can you give us any advice on how to retrieve the treasure container and its contents successfully? So in other words, right there, if I can't carry the treasure in the container in one trip.
So if you figured out exactly where the trigger is at, you will have sufficient time to plan how you wish to retrieve it.
What?
He looked like he was going to say something else and then stopped right there, right? Like, that's enough. And this is what he said, if you figured out exactly where the treasure is at, you will have sufficient time to decide how to retrieve it. What does that mean? Anybody jump in.
Well, I'll start. I believe then that the treasure hunt is over then, because if you have enough time, you're not worried about someone else coming behind you and, swooping and getting it like Jack did to Digging Gypsy. The treasure hunt race part is over. It is now just the mechanics of retrieving it. So to me, that means, I don't know if that's the checkpoint area or what it was, but there is something that once you do or go to, the treasure hunt's over, but you haven't retrieved it yet. The treasure hunt race is over. And that made my mind explode. It still does when he says it. It's made my mind explode yet again. What do you guys think?
I agree with your theory now. When he first said it, the first thing that popped into my mind is all these public recreation areas and campgrounds and waterfalls and all these places that are just public. Well, you can't have time to retrieve it. So is that ruling everything out that's a public recreation area? And I thought, certainly you can't rule out all that. But I'm beginning to think only one person's going to get the checkpoint, and that's all that makes sense to me.
Well,
that you have time to retrieve it.
I can say I was just in Yellowstone, and it was Disneyland in there.
Yeah.
But also, if you did find it in Yellowstone, for example, there are times we would go in between 6 and 9 at night when the crowds had died down. So if you did find it in a public area, I don't think it is in a public area. I think it is more off the beaten track. But I do think that you could schedule a time that you could go in and retrieve it under the darkness of night, or at a time that it's not busy. So I'm not in the theory that I think it's more off the beaten track, but there are ways that you could do it.
But Ginger, let me ask you to follow up on that. Whether it's on the beaten path or not, if it's there is still somebody that could come and take it.
Mm-hmm.
He's seeming to say something here like, you don't have anything to worry about. You're going to have time. And basically the race is over. You won. You haven't recovered it yet, which I can't.
And I'm wondering, do you get directions? Like if you get to that point and you find, say it's the checkpoint, say you turn around and you see something there, the statue of Tucker, whatever it is, and it gives you directions and you're the only person that has those directions to get to it. Is it?
Yeah, I said I thought that the checkpoint could be literally, it's a piece of paper that tells you, here is the rando spot GPS of where it is. The poem really doesn't connect you to it. Go to rando GPS. Take as long as you like because it's out in the middle of the nowhere and doesn't connect with anything.
But is that a proxy treasure?
Say it again.
Is that a proxy treasure?
Right.
Or it's clue 9.
If 10 people have the checkpoint,
excuse me,
there's no way you have time.
It's a race, yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Jamie.
I think he's thought about a lot of what happened with Forrest Fenn's hunt, and he's thinking about safety. He said, we don't have to do anything dangerous. My gut tells me there is some sort of natural impediment between where you get within that 1 mile of hiking that you now like happen to look across a ravine. And there I see the treasure. And now I have to have time to figure out how do I regroup to get around to that other side. Or do you get to the bottom of a waterfall and you're now looking up and you see where it is? You can't climb up that waterfall. You have to figure out how to reroute and get back to it.
Right. Yeah. Goonies Never Said Die, which is an awesome YouTube name.
Goonies never say die.
Basically, they said what you did, and that is the treasure location might be further away. So just going to the treasure container will take time, and then you'll have time to figure it out on the way. And it could mean that when you hit the checkpoint, now you know you're in the right area. Now it becomes, I'm actually going to get this thing, and you can plan how you're going to retrieve it. Because if you're just boots on the ground and you don't even know if you're in the right state, I don't know how many people actually have thought about finding it and retrieving it. But when you hit the checkpoint, now you know it's here. I'm going to find it. Now you have time to actually plan how to pull it. I don't know if that's what he meant, but I kind of like that idea.
And a subsequent question, which I think we might be touching on later, he said, answers, if the person who finds the checkpoint, will they find the treasure? And he said the probability of that is very high.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Excellent. Yep.
Excellent.
Okay, well, that's question after next. So let's do the question about why won't you tell us what the container is? And then we'll get to that one exactly that Ginger just brought up.
All right, next one. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Sorry, I was looking at Mr. Dallas's question when you realize they're all wearing glasses, meaning us, except for one. All right. The software engineer doesn't have glasses on. All right. Here we go. Oh, this is the llama question, which I don't read anything into this. Do you guys?
Friend Dylan, who has a llama, and she said, or not pack, or whatever, some kind of a pack.
It's a big difference.
Is that included? It depends. He just said it depends if it's an alpaca or a llama.
I think actually any of the animals will help you.
Okay, next one. Why will you not tell us what the treasure container is?
You know, I've been hesitant to mention what the container is, mainly because of artificial intelligence, and also to prevent people from creating decoys or for someone to claim that they have found it and to recreate what the container looks like in order to make a farce and upset people. As we all know, that happens from time to time, unfortunately. There's a bad apple in every bunch. It's not to say that it's any of it's true. But it's also AI. I think as time progresses, artificial intelligence will soon be in a position where it will be a formidable force when it comes to things like treasure hunts. And so I think actually it's a bigger topic. It's kind of a strange thing to think about. You know, AI is on the precipice of encapsulating the entirety of human knowledge. And it's not just a function of having the knowledge, it's acting on that knowledge in an intelligent manner. And so very soon AI will be smarter than all of us in those we combined. And it's a bit of a paradox. How do you create a puzzle for an intellect that dwarfs your own? It's like a mouse trying to create a puzzle for a human. It sounds pretty silly. And that's really where we stand with artificial intelligence. And so a big portion of the time that I spent designing this treasure hunt was to make it accessible and understandable and approachable by humans, but not by AI. And that's a really hard thing to do usually, because soon we'll be in a position where I think that those two will start to blend together in a way that is kind of scary. And if you take that one step further, and you were to have AI built into, say, a robot, that gets very scary. You could actually have a legion of robots that go out and say, find the treasure. I know it sounds crazy, but I do genuinely believe we're not far off from that. And that's really something that I did not want to happen. And time will tell whether or not that actually works out to our advantage, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, so he's really concerned about AI, which is finding his treasure or helping to find the treasure, which I think is interesting because it never would have occurred to me, at least not where AI is today. But what do you guys think?
I started out using AI, but I use AI every day. I'm in marketing, and AI is a phenomenal tool for what I do. But I quickly learned that the AI brain is not where it needs to be able to solve a puzzle. At least the version that we're being handed as the public. I'm sure that there are versions of AI out there that could do it. But if you're feeding stuff into AI, and you can see it on the chats and the forums and stuff, and it's coming back with it's at Wisdom, it's at Polaris, and you have to double check that everything that AI is giving you. I'm not saying that you can't use it for part of it. I mean, you can use it for research on things, but it's not going to solve it. It's not going to give you the answer.
Well, that Justin's concerned about it, and I want to focus more on, I get the copycats thing that Forrest put out a whole different set of treasure to Dale for us to look at, and it looked totally different because he had that same concern. But let's talk about the AI. So here's what I thought was interesting. He basically said if you crack the cipher, you'll know it's a hint at what the container is. And if you knew what the container is, AI could solve it for you. So this is over once somebody cracks the cipher, right? And
is that what he said? That once you know what the container is, AI can solve it?
Well, why won't you tell us what the container is? And he said, because he's concerned. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
But he said years from now, though. He said, like, what if you trained AI robots to go out and look for the container if you knew what it was? Can't do that today. I think he's talking about 5-10 years down the road. No. He's afraid it might become a concern. Maybe.
Jim wants to say something here.
So I was building an AI bot specifically for this, and so I learned a lot about AI bots and what they're allowed to do. Now I've been working with AI since the 90s, so that's how long it's been developing, and very slowly. And I've always needed it for healthcare purposes myself, and it just doesn't progress as fast as I want it to. Also, a lot of the information that's on the internet now is false. So there's a lot of false information out there. So the AI is going to give you a lot of false stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at it today, like it's really terrible with confirmation bias, and it doesn't understand homonyms. The word's just right. Doesn't know it could be RIGHT or RITE. It doesn't know. So it's not really helpful. But what I try to do is just get the subset of information down to the relevant information. We're still a ways away from this. And so it's really curious that he said the container kind of gives away the location.
Right.
That's what it sounded like to me. I mean, it makes you scratch your head because.
Yeah. Does anybody have a good criteria that would fit then? And I'm not talking like maybe it's if it was made of a certain material or whatever. I'm just talking, he couldn't just say it's a Tucker. Like not saying the size, not saying the titanium or if it's copper, what it's made out of, how he did it, how big it is, what the mold looks like. Why can't he even just say something in general?
Yeah,
to prevent decoys.
I kind of took it like it's this bright orange box way deep in the wilderness, and you have drones flying over looking for a bright orange box, or something like that. Something that stands out.
Jay, what were you going to say?
In your interview with him earlier, he said if you watch the Netflix series and have the book, it's immediately recognizable. So where do those two things overlap? What did we see in Netflix that we've also seen in the book or have seen described? I think people, I will admit, within the first week, me and my buddy were thinking through ideas, and I went to AI and I said, take this picture of Tucker, put him in a cave. I sent it to my buddy. I'm like, it's been found. And, for a split second, he was like, oh my God. And we realized how fast bad actors could derail this, as there was a couple people that did that online. But my gut is it's something that we've seen in Netflix and read about in the book. I don't know how you would do it, but I'll throw out a stupid idea, is an Indiana Jones hat. It's very recognizable. We've seen it on him in pictures. I don't see how you would do Tucker, or is it a box with something like engraved on it? I don't see it taking, a full form of some object, like a full Tucker statue. That's crazy ideas, I know.
I wish somebody would have asked him how big the container is. And I wonder if he would have answered, like, is it 6 inches or is it 2 feet? Like, just give us an idea of how big it is. But I don't think anybody asked him that question. So
Filled to the gills.
Right. How small is it? I mean, if it's like Forrest Fenn's chest, that was what, 6 by 6, maybe? It really wasn't that big. Yeah. Okay.
So the sack that he sent out that held the treasure, was that the one that held Fenn's treasure? Or was that the one that held his treasure?
No, in the Netflix doc, it was the one that he said this isn't the actual container, and it was that one that he opened up and he threw all the coins in.
Saddlebag briefcase, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a pretty cool briefcase.
Yeah.
Okay, next one, Kate Bro.
Next one.
All right, this one is a fun one.
This is a good one. Do you think that once someone is successful in reaching the checkpoint, that they will be the ultimate finder? Do you think that once someone is successful in reaching the checkpoint, that they will be the ultimate finder?
So I know there's probably some folks in this room who have no idea what this checkpoint business is. There's a lot of kind of context that's built up to this. I've had a number of interviews over the past where I mentioned that a portion of this treasure involves, for what I call, lack of a better term, a checkpoint. And it's a way for you to know that you're trending in the right direction. Kind of consider it like something that you may find along the way that you realize unequivocally, without a doubt, I know that I'm correct. I did this on purpose, partially to combat some of the AI concerns. And so I think it is fair to say, whoever finds the checkpoint has an excellent chance of finding the treasure as well.
Okay, you may find along the way. Does he mean boots on the ground?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he does. But here's the interesting piece, and I'll let all of you guys weigh in too. But he said the reason he put the checkpoint, partially the reason he put the checkpoint is to combat AI. So yeah. I think there is something that makes an incomplete amount of data to go in AI that you need that checkpoint information to complete the solve. So
That's what
I
I'm thinking too, Kipro.
Okay, cool. What do you guys think? That's my piece. They have an excellent chance. He didn't say no one else has a chance, but he was very close to that edge.
I just don't see how AI is going to have any sort of input in the wilderness of him hiding something off trail.
Right.
I mean, it's not like AI can go access high-res satellite photos and track where he's at. Now, is it a container that he bought from somewhere and AI could help you reverse image search it to find out the composition, the metals, you know, when he bought it, where he bought it, that type of thing? Maybe. But I don't see AI affecting the search. Like if there's double arcs on granite boulders somewhere on the ground out in the woods, I don't know how AI would ever know that.
Right. So that's why I feel like we're missing, because Justin's smart and he knows AI. So, and for those of you guys that do know AI, I don't know a lot about it, but he's concerned about it. So it seems like it's not feasible just to stick everything into AI. So there has to be something we're missing. I don't know. Any other thoughts on this question?
Your notes are much bigger than my notes.
Well, I like this answer that he gave because he says checkpoint for lack of a better term, meaning it's not a gate. It's not necessarily a checkpoint, right? But hang on, the glasses.
Well, just to add, if you really go back and watch the 2020 interview with you guys, just the summer before Fenn's treasure was found, he refers to it as a checkpoint. I think he uses it for a lack of a better term, but he also calls it a look ahead or look back, sort of like a checkpoint or a look ahead, so you can tell that you're where you're going. I think the word checkpoint has just kind of been latched on, and that's what he keeps referring to.
Yeah, it's a way to confirm your confirmation bias, right? So it's a way to say you're right, you've got it. So you always got to keep that healthy doubt, but it definitely feels like a boots on the ground verification.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I got a question for,
and it also feels like the treasure itself is an exact GPS coordinate. Again, I'll say that again, because he's saying you have ample time to get it. All that just makes it feel like there's a pinpoint to it. You'll know where it is exactly. You just have to get to it. That's how I take it.
Capro, how much in advance did he get these questions to think about his answers?
So she is still going off the piece of paper. Once she gets to the cards, he had some of the cards the day before, and some of the cards came in because Debbie told me she was still collecting them on Saturday because he didn't have enough. So I had a 10:30 in line ticket. He signed it at 12:15, which is when he said, can you go back and get a list together? I think I was with Cynthia until 2 o'clock. And I said, I want to give myself an extra hour just in case the printer's closed or the one printer in Dillon is broken, which is exactly what happened. So I would say he got them around 3, but he went straight to 6 o'clock signing. He didn't see them. I was going to hand it to him and he said, give them to Lori. I won't be able to do. So it was literally, I think he took 45 minutes for dinner. He had it the 45 minutes just before they walked in.
Because I feel like I'm trying to watch his gestures and things. And sometimes I see that he has the answer right away.
Yeah. He
kind of shakes his head. He knows, but then he takes a lot of time answering it. And some other times I can see he's almost really, really thinking about how he wants to answer it. So I was just wondering how far in advance he got those questions.
Yeah. Now the ones on the cards, he said, I didn't even get through all of them on the cards. And that's why it was so interesting, but they were going to randomly ask those questions, but then some of the other ones were ruled out on that list. So I don't know. It got a little bit.
Yeah. Can you see the questions that were ruled out?
Oh, she has them. She had them last night.
Yeah. Oh, I missed the show. Dang it.
Yeah.
Because
you can go back and watch.
Yes.
Because that might help pinpoint the things he couldn't answer.
She did it real.
That's awesome.
El Pero with the $1.99 super chat. Thank you. Says, you think the emails he got were from a trail cam? Now we know Justin's familiar with trail cams. If you guys were into the forest then hunt, I don't know what emails though he's referring to. Do you? K-Pro? You think the emails he got were from a trail cam?
I don't know what emails. No.
Meaning the trail cam would send an email?
Alert. Yeah, like the motion detection.
Oh yeah, like our Ring camera, we can
That's
get
possible.
the alerts on motion. Yeah,
That's possible. Our friend Chad Bird, the super chat. Thanks, Chad. I think checkpoint is not a physical thing, or maybe a fish here sign. Happy days from down under. He's in Australia. Can't wait for September. I think that's when he's coming back. So cheers down under there, Chad Bird. Thank you for the super chats as always. Now he doesn't think the checkpoint, or he thinks the checkpoint is not a physical thing. But how could it, when Justin says it's something you'll find along the way, it seems to me it would be physical, that you're going to find it boots on the ground. That's what I think.
I'm in the camp with Chad.
You don't think it's physical?
Here.
Okay.
I'm hoping not.
It would be interesting if it's something you find from home, and that's how you can have plans to retrieve it, because then you're making plans to go to that area that now you know is 100% correct. And then
early on, didn't he say that 90% of it could be solved from home, or a high percentage, maybe not 90%, but
in a vacuum, he said, in a vacuum, somebody could solve it
with a poem in the map, right?
Just the poem.
Just the poem. Okay.
But the map was useful, and with the book, that's more reference.
So then the checkpoint could be in the poem.
That's true.
Yeah.
And he's also said there's different ways to solve it. I'm not sure what that means either.
That's another show, huh?
Yeah. So we are at 1 hour. Do you want to do one more, K-Pro, or do you want to cut it?
Got two more.
Okay, if everybody hits the thumbs up, it costs you nothing. If you guys thumbs up, we're going to do this one. If we have over 100 thumbs up by the next question, we'll do both. But we're going to do question 9 right now real quick. If we have 100 or more thumbs up, we will do the last question. If not, we're cutting it off. You guys, we're going home.
So what does that mean, K-Pro? Do the next question?
That means do the next question, babe.
Oh, okay. I lost it. All right. Here we go.
Were there any clues or lines in your poem that changed significantly from the first draft to the final version?
So I mentioned this before, but for those that are not aware, I wrote the bulk of that poem in a number of hours. It was like, I don't know, probably 6 hours or less. And I think from the time that I reached, so 2 things. First off, I purposely didn't finish the entire poem until the day the book went to print. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to make sure no one had access to the poem beforehand. It was really important to me that no one had a big makeup or anything like it. So you can imagine there's editors involved, there's crazy company, illustrators, all sorts of people, and it is true that they had access to subsets of the book at the time. No one had access to the poem until the very end because I never finished it until the last hour. And despite that last bit that I filled in at the end, in my recollection, nothing significantly changed from the very first draft that I wrote. So I think I only tweaked maybe 2 words tops. So it was pretty static.
So nothing changed. He only tweaked 2 words. What do you guys think about that? Anything?
So I think I for part of my job, I need to write things. And if I asked any of you to write a poem about how you get from your house to the grocery store, you could do that in probably less than 10 minutes, right? You had to write a description of, because it's something that you know very well. If I had to ask you to write a poem on how J-Will gets to the grocery store, you're going to have to do some research into that, and it's going to take you a long time, and you're going to have to dive into it. So this place, and this is why I think it's really important to know him, because it is some place that he is very familiar with and knows very well, and that's what made it easy to write the poem.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and I think the super stealthy little hint, we have 6 raccoons. 6 is everywhere. And he says, yeah, it took me 6 hours or less to write this poem. No, it didn't. You were just trying to throw. I mean, yes, maybe it was less than that, but I think 6 is not by 6 is the new 9 when it comes to Forrest Fenn was all about 9. I think he's all about 6. That's just me. That's just me.
Yeah, I think he spent years and years and years writing this poem in his head and thinking about the search and just putting it together. And it just makes sense that you wouldn't write the whole thing and send that to publishing, that you would, put the last lines and tweak it at the end so nobody had that. So that makes sense to me.
Yep. I like it.
Chad Bird, real quick. Chad Bird with the $10 super chat. That is why the area he searched, I don't know, for like 7 years. He might just know pretty darn well. So yeah, I think I would agree that this is maybe when he was a kid, something he's been to a lot over the years.
You mean somewhere like Polaris area or the surrounding areas that he's lived in for 30 years every summer?
What if it's just a fishing hole, just like Forrest Fenn's was? What if it's just his favorite fishing hole? Is that possible?
I guess it'd be just a watering hole too.
Yeah.
He did a lot of searching for Fenn's treasure in Idaho.
Right? You're right. He said that. Yeah.
Right. He did. Yes, he was.
And if 6 was 9, that's a Jimi Hendrix lyrics.
Nice.
So based on that, do you think that it is somewhere that he has talked about in his book then? I mean, like
Yes.
I mean, I don't remember him mentioning Alaska in his book. Maybe he did. I've listened to the audiobook. I've read the book. But like if it was in Alaska, we'd all be kind of surprised about that, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like
everybody would be upset.
We've been taken on this journey of his stories, and it's someplace that he's brought us to.
It was a classic debate in the Forrest Fenn hunt is, would he put it as obvious as can be right in the book? He sure as heck did. I think Justin has hidden it in plain sight yet again, or just like Forrest. I think it is. I mean, 9 Mile Hole, the picture was there. He talked about it. I mean, it was right there. The picture was there. So I think I personally believe it is somewhere in the book, but it's hidden through all these other stories that have all these other areas as well.
I think not only is it in the book and he's talked about it and mentioned it some way in passing, he might have included it in one of the pictures.
Agreed.
And I've been going down the rabbit hole of locating
something too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are. Oh, Mike's on the phone. We didn't get to 100 likes. No one likes us, so we're only at 91. So we will do number 10 for the next panel the next time. And I don't know what's going on with Mike. So I want to say thank you to everyone for coming. This was awesome. I think we topped out at 275 people in here watching you. So you guys were amazing. Different thoughts. You came prepared. You all did your homework. It was awesome. So I don't know when the next one of these will be. Maybe we'll do one either Monday or Thursday, and we're going to go over question 10 to, I don't know what I want to get, because we would try to keep these right around an hour. And so I just wanted to thank all of you guys in chat. Thank you for being a part of this and keeping it fun. I know several of you are like, no, this is the right answer. Come on the next panel. I will say, until I announce what day it is, I won't even take emails because I got so many emails. I guarantee we could have 4 or so people. Go ahead, Mike.
Chad Bird with another super chat. There's only one place he calls scared ground. I think you mean sacred ground in the book, Chad. Sacred ground in the book. There's only one place, he says. So look out for that, everybody.
Okay.
Well,
the panel was awesome. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone.
That's our first Searcher Roundtable, everybody.
I want to thank everybody, K-Pro, Mike, Justin. Can I just say something real quick? I don't want to embarrass Jim, but he spent 38 years in software, and after a stroke, it left him with mild cognitive impairment. So he had to quit his job. He couldn't function anymore. And I just want to thank Justin for this, because this is so good for his brain. If nothing else, if we get nothing else out of this, this has brought new life to us. So I just wanted to thank you guys.
And it might actually take me to Alaska. So
yeah, that's great.
Nice. Get a vacation out of it.
Justin will be very happy to hear that, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you guys are no longer randos. Now you're our friends. And if anybody out there would like to be on the next Searcher Roundtable, email kpro3@aol.com.
Okay, guys, you heard me just say the opposite of that. So don't listen to Mike.
He was on the phone.
I was on the phone.
Yeah.
Work getting in the way. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for coming on, everybody. It was a lot of fun.
That was
We've all
good.
got different ideas, but I wonder if we're all kind of trending in the right direction or the same direction, I should say. Maybe. We'll see. So we'll do it again next week, I think, K-Pro. We're going to go through the rest of the questions. And once we're done with Justin's questions, then we need to go through the poem and figure out what those 10 clues
Well,
are.
Mike, you do know there's like 187 questions. We're going to do this until the end of time. That's what lives in time, is the amount of. So I don't know how we'll get through them all quickly. So we're on number 9.
Thanks again, Cowlazars and the sidekick. Thanks, Chadberg. I'm going to get K-Pro a sidekick t-shirt for the Treasure Con. So just to remind you guys, there is going to be a treasure hunt conference January 31st of 2026. We're going to have details, but it's going to be here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We hope to see you all out here.
We'll be
All
there.
right. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please subscribe, thumbs up. And thank you, Justin, for an awesome treasure hunt.
Yeah, speakeasy. I think some people have some things to say. Jump into the speakeasy, guys. I think it might be a fun night. I'm just saying.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
We'll see you.
Bye.